Hello and welcome to the YouTube channel of Victory IS. In this session, we shall be talking about an important topic of environment and ecology, which is environmental conservation. So, the topics that we have been covering in the past few sessions, they are related to the current developments. They have been seen in the past 2-3 years. We are trying to cover all the areas which could be important for the prelims examination 2026. So today we are going to cover these 4 current developments under the broader topic environment conservation. So let's begin with the first topic. So first one pertains to Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Let me give you a brief background about this. You know that 2024 for the first time 2014, not 2024, I'm sorry, I said 2024. So 2014, there is change in the leadership at the central level. Mr. Modi comes into picture, and one of the most important schemes that he launched during his tenure is Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So this is a flagship scheme of Government of India, launched on 2nd October 2014. So why 2nd October? 2nd October holds a strategic importance because this is the birth date of Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi. We are talking about Mahatma Gandhi here. So it is the birth date of Gandhi. And you should know that Gandhi always emphasized upon cleanliness. So while coining the concept of Harijan, you know that Gandhi coined the concept of Harijan for the untouchables and scheduled castes. So this concept of Harijan, when Gandhi came, he also emphasized upon cleanliness. According to Gandhi, people who are involved in performing so-called unclean activities, let's say you are involved in doing some activity which makes you unhygienic, which makes you unclean. So immediately after the performance of the job, you should immediately go for washing yourself, you should go for cleaning yourself. So for the hygienic purpose, not for the purpose of practice of untouchability or anything of that sort, but for the hygienic purpose, you should be clean, you should get yourself clean. So that was the idea of Gandhi when he emphasized upon the concept of cleanliness. So every now and then Gandhi focused on cleanliness so that people are hygienic, so that people are not, let's say your friend is there and who does not bath for 10-15 days और फिर आप उससे मिलोगे क्या, तो you get a smell, a weird smell, तो आप उससे दूर भागोगे. तो same is the idea here. Gandhi, because fortunately or unfortunately say, these people have been involved in performing some unclean activities. So for that reason Gandhi said that cleanliness is important for everyone. So that is why, realizing the importance or the emphasis that Gandhi gave to cleanliness, Mr. Modi launched Swachh Bharat Abhiyan on 2nd October 2014, and this scheme since then has undergone into 2 phases. One phase was from 2014 to 2019 and second phase was from 2020 to 2025. So these are the 2 phases of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. We'll talk about that. So in the first phase, this one, the focus was on making the Indian villages ODF. ODF means open defecation free. You know the status of India, the kind of inequality that exists in this country, the kind of poverty, the chronic poverty that exists in this country, and you know that open defecation is kind of a common culture, especially in rural India. It has been a common culture. So Government of India tried to create awareness, tried to make availability of the toilets in the village area so that this problem of open defecation could be resolved, especially in the village areas. So it does not mean that this scheme was implemented only in the village areas. It was implemented in the village as well as urban areas both. And the nodal ministry for implementation of this scheme is Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation. So if I can write somewhere over here, Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation. This is the nodal ministry that have been taking care of this scheme, implementing this scheme. Now let's come to the news that we have seen. So over 1 lakh villages declared ODF plus. I'll tell you what exactly ODF is. ODF is open defecation free. And then what is this ODF plus status? Then there is something called as ODF plus plus status. And then there is another concept called water plus. जहाँ से क्वेश्चंस पूछे जा सकते हैं, मतलब what exactly is the difference between these terms. But anyway, as per the government, over 1 lakh villages have declared themselves ODF plus, and then villages are sustaining their ODF status and have systems in place for managing solid and liquid waste. So basically, under this phase, under the first phase, the villages were given the status of ODF. ODF means there is no one seen in the village area to be defecating in open. So then ODF status would be given. And once there are enough systems, adequate systems, the toilets, the clean toilets are being present, then the status from ODF would be changed to ODF plus. So that is the difference. ODF means no one is seen defecating in open, and ODF plus means there are enough systems in place for managing solid and liquid waste. Make sense? Let's talk about the background of this scheme. Then under phase 1 of the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan or Swachh Bharat Mission, which was implemented between 2014 to 2019, 100% of the villages were declared ODF. So the ministry, the nodal ministry, which happened to be Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation, they declared that by 2019 India achieved 100% ODF. But in reality, you know that these claims are on the paper only. The reality reflects something else. If you happen to visit rural India even today, you'll get to know that there is a lot of work that has to be done at the ground level. So it is just the paper indicating that India has achieved 100% ODF with respect to villages. But yes, if it comes in the examination, you have to remember that this is the reality for the examination, because this is what is being documented. So documents are more important than what we people think and what we people say. Anyway, but if at all it comes in the examination, in the mains examination, then you can use a different argument that as per the ministry, there is 100% ODF status given to all villages in the country, but in reality, the scenario is entirely different. Now coming to the phase 2, which is from 2020 to 2025, I have already given you those facts. The target is to get all the villages ODF plus. So that is what it has been said in 2022, that over 1 lakh villages have been declared as the ODF plus. Okay, and then again the ministry, I have already given you that this is the ministry that we have been talking about. Okay, moving further. These are the differences in different terms that you'll see across when you'll read any current development with respect to Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So you need to know the basic differences. ODF means not a single person found to be defecating in open. That I already told you. Then ODF plus means this has to be already there. Means ODF plus some other conditions. What are the other conditions? That system has to be there which ensures that there is proper disposal of solid waste and liquid waste. So, no one defecates in the open, that is the first condition, ODF condition, and also a well maintained community and public toilets. Then ODF plus plus, that is ODF plus has to be already there plus some more condition. So, all the conditions of ODF plus and toilets with sludge and seepage management, right. So, they are well connected with the seepage management system. Then water plus means the waste waters is being treated as per the CPCB norms before they are released into some water body. So, wastewater has to be treated before they are discharged into some kind of water body. Then such status would be given, such certifications would be given to the respective villages or the urban areas. Just remember that this scheme was not only for the rural areas, it was also for the urban areas. It has two components. One is Swachh Bharat Abhiyan rural and Swachh Bharat Abhiyan urban. Okay, then certain things which we have already seen, but let me read it for you. So, revised Swachh certification protocols to sustain ODF status. So, Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0, urban one it is talking about, has launched the revised Swachh certification protocols. That is what I told you, that 4 categories are there for ODF, for ODF plus, for ODF plus plus and water plus. So, these are the 4 certificates that are being issued under the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan phase 2. This thing already we have discussed that this was launched in 2014 to achieve 100% ODF status in all urban local bodies. This is specifically talking about urban, Swachh Bharat Mission urban. So, same is the objective and the target for the Swachh Bharat Mission rural as well. That refers to this. This is the second phase. Then coming to another very important area of environment conservation, wherein the efforts have been made at the national level, at the international level, in order to deal with a problem which is of existential nature. So, I am talking about a problem called climate change. Climate change and global warming. I hope you understand the difference between these two terms, global warming and climate change. If you know the difference, if you wish to write, you can write in the comment, maybe. But again, so climate change and global warming. So, this is a problem of existential nature. It is bigger than any other problem in the world. If not bigger, it is equivalent to the most challenging problems that the world has to face in the times to come. So, climate change. So, efforts are being made at the national level, at the international level, international collaborations are going on, and almost every responsible country, I am using the word responsible countries of the world, they have committed for something called as net zero. So, for example, India is trying to achieve net zero with respect to carbon emissions. So, this net zero is related to carbon emissions that have been taking place because of the developmental activities, because of the deforestation. So, the countries, the responsible countries of the world are trying to achieve net zero. In the same backdrop, India is trying to achieve net zero by 2070. So, different ways have been followed. जैसे आजकल आप देखोगे renewable energy पे बहुत emphasis है. सोलर एनर्जी पे बहुत एम्फेसिस है, विंड एनर्जी. But this news, this Shunya campaign is basically related to the emissions that happens from the vehicles. So कार से, बस से, any kind of vehicles जो vehicular exhaust हैं, वहाँ से भी large amount of greenhouse gases are emitted and which are responsible for climate change and global warming. So this Shunya campaign is targeting this transport sector, especially ट्रांसपोर्ट में भी दो फ्रीट सेक्टर है जहाँ से सामान का मूवमेंट होता है, उसको इलेक्ट्रीफाई करना चाह रहे हैं, सो दैट देर इज मिनिमल रिलीज ऑफ ग्रीन हाउस गैसेस because of the transport, because of the movement of the goods. So Shunya is basically they are trying to make it zero emissions from what? From the vehicles, from the transport sector. So over here target is to electrify the fleet of the vehicles so that there is minimum emission from the transport sector. And in that regard, a campaign has been launched by Government of India, and this campaign has to be implemented by Niti Aayog. So basically this Shunya initiative is a government led initiative implemented by or launched by Niti Aayog, which has hosted its first inaugural edition of this Shunya forum. So basically in this campaign or in this forum, the leaders from different parts of the world, the leaders of the country, the industry leaders, the corporate people, the industries representatives, they would be called together, obviously along with the representatives of Niti Aayog, and a discussion and deliberation will happen to share the knowledge, the technology, the requirement, the pathways, so that the 100% electrification of vehicles could be done. So this forum is for that, this Shunya forum, or call it Shunya campaign. So let's see what are the nitty-gritties of this news. At Shunya forum 25, Shunya partners have announced their commitment to accelerate India's transition to electronic vehicles or electrical vehicles that improve air quality for citizens in the country. We have already discussed this in detail. They have shared their success stories, their commitments towards fleet electrification. The forum provided opportunities for the partners to share their know-hows and experiences and promoted potential collaborations. So it is not just the effort of the government, the private players have also been invited in this initiative, because you need to understand that government alone cannot achieve this big objective. Focused discussions were held on challenges faced by corporates while scaling their electric vehicle fleets. जैसे आप देखोगे सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज ये है कि इंडिया में द बैटरी इंडस्ट्री इज़ नॉट वेल डेवलप्ड. तो अगर आप इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन करोगे व्हीकल्स का, तो फर्स्ट थिंग यू नीड इज बैटरी. And battery industry in India is in the nascent stage. अभी बहुत beginning stage में है. So since it is in the nascent stage, so electrification is not possible क्योंकि it is the most important component of the electrification of the fleet. So and moreover sir, why this industry is in nascent stage? क्योंकि there are certain critical minerals which are needed, rare earth metals are needed in order to manufacture the batteries, and that are not abundant in India. We are dependent, in fact almost the entire world is dependent on China for rare earth metals. So since we are highly dependent on China, and moreover Chinese policy also keep on changing with respect to import and export of the rare earth metals. They know that they have monopoly over that rare earth metals. And because of that, if you look at the electrification campaigns of China, they are well ahead compared to any part of the world, क्योंकि उनके पास resources are there, natural resources are there, which is the rare earth metal. Those are the critical elements that are needed for manufacturing batteries. So India has a long way to go with respect to this, but again, this is a welcome initiative taken up by the government with the help of Niti Aayog, wherein they are trying to partner with the industry leaders, they are trying to partner with the private players, so that as soon as possible the electrification of the transport sector could be done. Moving further. Event was attended by G20 शेरपा. शेरपा मीन्स गवर्नमेंट का जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव होता है, तो G20 के शेरपा तब अमिताभ कांत थे, 2022 की बात है. नीति आयोग, तो these are the important dignitaries who attended this forum, not that important. During this event, a 3-report series highlighting the economic benefits of indigenous battery industry in India. Obviously, so there has to be huge benefit. The national program on advanced chemistry cell energy storage, so that has been the focus. It highlighted that India's 2.5 billion USD production linked incentive scheme for these types of storage, energy storage capacity. So basically this has been linked to production linked scheme, production linked incentive scheme, जिसको PLI बोलते हैं. PLI का concept ये है कि the manufacturing industries will be given some kind of incentive, some kind of benefit if their production exceeds up to a certain threshold limit. So for specific industries the limit has been fixed, and if the countries are producing beyond that, so it means that they would be given some kind of incentive, some kind of benefit under this production linked scheme, which is also in short known as PLI scheme. तो बैटरी डेवलपमेंट के लिए nearly 2.5 billion US dollar has been kept in order to promote this sector, this battery industry, which is a welcome initiative again. So just remember such facts, because these facts make a great sense for, especially for the industry which is in the nascent stage. And then PLI scheme would play a major role. That is what I said, that it will play a significant role in EVs adoption and decarbonization. Decarbonization means, grid decarbonization means, जैसे traditionally we use thermal power plants for generation of electricity. So this thermal power, which is based on coal, will release huge amount of greenhouse gases, and that we do not want. So ultimately, if the transport sector gets electrified, this would result into grid decarbonization. Okay. There are further certain things that we should know about this. So it is saying that it is critical since urban freight vehicles account for 10% of freight transportation related carbon dioxide emissions in India. And so these freight vehicles are responsible for around 10% of the total transport related carbon emissions in the country, and those emissions are expected to spike by 114% by this. So we already know the problem of climate crisis. If we continue at this rate of development which we are running right now, if the same rate of exploitation of resources is continued, in the next 4-5 years, by 28-29, this target of 2 degrees Celsius under Paris Agreement of COP21, if you remember 2015 Paris Agreement, this would be breezed. It means that temperature will already increase more than 2 degrees Celsius in the next few years only at the current rate of resource exploitation, and this is the tipping point. This is the tipping point, क्योंकि इसके बाद once this average temperature of earth goes beyond 2 degrees Celsius, the researchers, the scientific community believes that there is no going back after this. So it is not a good scenario that if the problem, the crisis of climate change or global warming is not well handled. Anyway, EVs on the other hand emit 15 to 40% less carbon dioxide than their internal combustion engines. So vehicular exhaust, I said in the beginning itself that they are releasing large amount of greenhouse gases. So compared to that, EVs have relatively very less carbon emission. Shurn campaign aims to promote use of EVs for ride hailing, and then major focus is on these two things initially. Minimize air pollution caused by these services, and campaign has 130, as I said, the industry partners would be there and companies will be invited to take part in this. Okay, moving further. This one is again a very important news. Arctic warming. Arctic warming, the name itself suggests a lot of things. We'll have to see what are the important things for us in the examination, especially in the prelims exam. So first thing you should know that as per the latest report of IPCC, if you know, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the temperature of the temperature of the earth, the average temperature of the earth has already increased nearly 1.5 degrees Celsius. This is the latest report saying that temperature is already increased by 1.5 degrees Celsius, which happened to be the short-term target of Paris Agreement. Paris Agreement is very landmark agreement whenever we are talking about climate change and global warming. It happened way back in 2015. It is also known as Conference of Parties 21, and this Conference of Parties is related to United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So ये Paris Agreement कहता है कि we should keep the temperature below 1.5 degrees Celsius, but in reality the latest reports are suggesting that this temperature target has been already breached. The temperature of the earth has already increased by nearly 1.5 degrees Celsius, and this temperature increase across the globe, let's say this is globe, is not uniform. ऐसा नहीं है कि सब जगह पे across all the parts of the earth the temperature has increased by 1.5 degrees Celsius. No, in the equatorial areas the temperature increase is lesser. In the polar areas the temperature increase is more. So if I give you the facts, in the polar areas the temperature increase is around 1.67 degrees Celsius, and in this areas the temperature increase is around on an average 0.6-0.7 degrees Celsius. So it means that if there is greater increase of temperature in the polar areas where glaciers are present, where the surface is almost entirely frozen, the oceans are frozen, if temperature is increasing there, it means that those frozen areas, the ice will melt, and if ice melts, you should know that there is something called as albedo. So albedo का मतलब होता है the reflecting capacity of a surface, the reflecting capacity of a surface to the sunlight. So albedo of ice, water and land. Ice has greatest albedo, then water and then land. So it means that अगर ice present होगी तो large amount of sunlight would be reflected back. यहाँ पे जब तक ice थी, जब तक ये warming का impact नहीं था, तब तक the albedo was very high and it was a good sign क्योंकि then ice were not melting at that rate. But due to human activities, because of the developmental, so-called developmental activities, especially you see in this part is the Europe part, which is a developed part of the world. It means that in the past they have released huge amount of greenhouse gases. So due to accumulation of greenhouse gases over here, the ice which were present in the polar areas, they started melting, and because of the melting of the ice, Those oceans which were earlier frozen, now they are exposed water, and water has lesser albedo, means now whatever sunlight will come up, that would be absorbed more. So there would be further, faster rate of melting of the ice, and that is resulting into very fast warming of the Arctic, even faster than what was anticipated by the scholars, by the scientific community. So this entire article is about that. So researchers from Finnish Meteorological Institute published their research regarding Arctic warming on August 2022. As per the research, Arctic is heating up 4 times faster than other parts of the earth. These facts are important. Heating is more concentrated in Eurasian part. I told you why. Because Eurasian part is the one part which have historically developed itself and are responsible for large amount of emissions. इसीलिए if you know the concept of CBDR, common but differentiated responsibility, इसीलिए चाहिए क्योंकि हिस्टोरिकली दे हैव कॉज्ड ग्रेटर डैमेज टू द इन्वायरमेंट, इसलिए इनको ज़्यादा रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी लेनी चाहिए. अमेरिकन्स या एनी डेवलप्ड कंट्री शुड टेक greater responsibility for the climate change. Anyway, in this part, the Barents Sea, if you know Barents Sea, if you have seen the map of Europe, Russia or Norway के ऊपर का part is Barents Sea. So just have a look in the map. Are heating up 7 times faster than the Earth's average. So that is what I said, the heating is very fast. In the last 43 years, Arctic region has heated up 3.8 times faster than the planet. Highlights: these findings reveal that people, animals and these findings reveal that peoples, animals and the planets in the polar regions are experiencing rapid climate change. Finding focus on period between, so this is the period where they are focusing upon. Arctic region is more sensitive to global warming. Already said that it is likely that the region is heating up even more quickly than predicted by the computer models, that what we estimated उससे ज़्यादा तेज heating हो रही है. Heat waves in far north region have caused wildfires. If you know, California का wildfire of 2018 was horrific. So one of the factor is global warming and climate change. Anyway, moving further. So what are the reasons why this heating is common in that area? I told you one concept. This is the most important concept. Other concepts are easy. Change of amount of air pollution that is coming from Europe. I told you that Europe is a developed part of the world wherein large amount of emissions happened in the past. Now they have developed technology. Now their emissions are relatively lesser. At present, the highest emission comes from China, second highest from US and third highest from India. But in the past, Europeans have caused huge damage to the environment because of the beginning of industrial revolution in that part of the world. So natural multi-decade climate variations, human induced global warming, all these things. But one thing that you should know, ice albedo feedback. Ice albedo feedback वही है जो मैंने भी बताया कि since this part is frozen, this is the globe that I am considering, this part is frozen, the polar region of the globe. So since this part is frozen and if this gets warmed up, तो ice will melt. तो जब तक ice थी तब तक albedo was very high. So albedo was high, it means that the whatever sunlight used to come, they used to get reflected back. So they were causing relatively less warming. But because the warming is so much that these ice have melted now. So those ice have been removed and they are replaced by water. And water has relatively greater absorption capacity compared to the ice. So that is why there is a positive feedback of albedo. So that is what it is called, ice albedo feedback. इसके लिए एक word और भी हो सकता है, positive ice albedo feedback. Positive ice albedo feedback, wherein the because of the melting of the ice, the sunlight is not getting reflected that much, and that is causing further warming and further melting of the ice. So that is the positive thing, that not positive, but the impact is getting amplified because of the warming. The impact is getting amplified. And what is this lapse rate feedback? Lapse rate feedback का मतलब है, as you move from the earth's surface towards the upper troposphere, the temperature decreases, and whenever on the surface there are greenhouse gases, so there is a stark difference between the temperature in the upper troposphere compared to the temperature in the lower atmosphere. But because of the global warming, this starkness, this difference is getting more prominent, and because of that, if more greenhouse gases are present near the surface, it means that this lapse rate would be more stark, more dramatic. So that is also responsible for the warming of the Arctic area, or call it Arctic Ocean, Accordingly, the researchers, melting of ice is resulting to more open water. Arctic region is getting capable of absorbing more solar radiation. So that is what I told you. Because of the melting of the ice, now it will be absorbing more solar radiations and becoming warmer. And this phenomena is called ice albedo feedback, which is responsible for 40% of the polar amplification. इसीलिए इसको बोला positive ice albedo feedback. And then while lapse rate feedback is responsible for nearly 15%. So these are the two important factors or concepts responsible for Arctic warming. This could be a question in the prelims examination. What exactly are the following statements which explain these terms in the best possible manner? Okay. Then the last topic, a smaller one. So this topic is related to forecasting by IMD. IMD means Indian Meteorological Department. IMD said that climate change has hampered the ability of forecasting. I have been saying that climate change is not a small problem, though even the developed countries like US is not serious about this problem of climate change, but yes, climate change is a much bigger problem coming in front of the world in the times to come. So it is hampering even the prediction ability of IMD, because it is the climate change is causing a lot of changes in the atmosphere, which the technology or the scientific community is not able to anticipate. It is becoming highly unpredictable. So because of that, it is saying that climate change has hampered the ability of forecasting agencies to make predictions accurate. इसलिए आप कई बार देखते होगे इंडिया में जब भी बोला जाता है कि कल बारिश होगी तो पता चलता है बारिश तो नहीं हुई, धूप अलग हो गई. तो it is kind of bright sunshine. But yes, so they are failing because of a number of changes which are occurring and which is of unprecedented nature. So the tools used for forecasting certain things, such questions could be asked in the prelims. Which of the following are the tools that are used for forecasting by IMD? So there are radars. Radars कैसे काम करते हैं? Radars basically are dependent on radio waves. So radio waves, once they strike with the surface, they bounce back, and this observation is noted. This movement of the radio waves is noted, is observed, and accordingly the predictions are being made. So let's say the radio waves released and they strike with some raindrops, some ice flakes in the atmosphere, they get back. So accordingly the predictions and forecasting is being done. So over here the radio waves are being used, and then automatic weather stations are there. Automatic means they are not manned, they are unmanned weather stations, means certain weather stations have been established in remote part of the world, especially it is talking about India. So in India, and from where the data is being recorded by these weather stations and it is transmitted to the forecasting stations, the forecasting centers. Rain gauzes are there which typically measure the intensity of the rainfall, the speed of rainfall. The satellites are there, you know that geostationary satellites are there in place. Then polar satellites are there. So they have been observing regularly the different locations on the earth. जैसे polar satellites revolve around the earth, crossing the poles twice a day. दिन में 2 बार ये लोग क्रॉस करते हैं, तो accordingly they are giving us the information. Then geostationary satellites are focused on a particular location on the earth's surface. Then whatever developments, atmospheric developments happen there, जैसे moisture content बढ़ रहा है, cyclone formation हो रहा है, तो all those things are being observed and accordingly the predictions and the forecasting is being done. The Ministry of Earth Science also plans, so this IMD operates under Ministry of Earth Science only, plans to upgrade its high performance computation system. So जो current computing कैपेसिटी है उसको इन्हांस करने की बात हो रही है. अभी जो कैपेसिटी है 10 पेटाफ्लॉप्स की, दे आर ट्राइंग टू मेक इट टू 30 पेटाफ्लॉप्स. सो बेसिकली पेटाफ्लॉप्स इज द मेजरमेंट, इज द यूनिट टू मेजर द computational speed of a computer, of a system. Then there is one concept of long period average. So जब भी रेनफॉल का मेजरमेंट होता है या प्रिडिक्शन होता है तो आप देखोगे इट सेज दैट इस साल बारिश विल बी 10% मोर देन द एवरेज. सो दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस एवरेज, लॉन्ग पीरियड एवरेज, एंड दिस लॉन्ग पीरियड एवरेज बाय IMD इज ऑफ 50 ईयर्स. मतलब ये हुआ कि द डेटा रिलेटेड टू रेनफॉल फॉर 50 ईयर्स will be added up, will be averaged out, and then that is called long period average. So IMD takes 50 year का data from 1971 to 2020 and World Meteorological Department takes the data of 30 years from 1991 to 2020. So these are the some facts that you should know, especially this term is very important. So based on the LPA, certain predictions are being made. So one is called normal or near normal rainfall. It means that the departure from the actual rainfall is plus minus 10%. Then such rainfall is called normal or near normal. Then below normal, there is departure of actual rainfall is less than 10% of LP, and then above normal 10% above the LP, and deficit means when the departure of actual rainfall is less than 90% of the LP. These are the facts. Excess rainfall, कब बोलेगी गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया या IMD कि this is a monsoon of excess rainfall? When the departure of actual rainfall is more than 110% of the LP. So these are the certain current developments which were related to environment conservation. There are certain more topics. We'll come up with the second part of it as well. And this would be all for the day. Thank you so very much. Thank you for being with us.